All right, y'all, what is going on? This is your man, El Jamal. I know it's been a while, but recently I've gotten back into school after, oh man, so many years. So I've been working, getting that life, work, school balance again, and it's taken a minute, but today I got some time. And today I wanted to get into one of my favorite films of all time, The Godfather, of course. This one dropped in 1972, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, starring, of course, Al Pacino. We have Marlon Brando. We have James Caan, Robert Duvall. Star-studded. Of course, this is the story of Vito Corleone and pretty much his rise and fall, and eventually the rise of his son within, of course, New York's criminal underworld. Of course, this is based off the novel dropped in 1969 by Mario Puzo. So, again, we all know about this flick. Today, I wanted to, not so much focus on, I guess, a breakdown of the film in terms of a synopsis, but there was two themes that I kind of got from this. Actually, one theme and one theory I kind of wanted to break down, and one of them being fatherhood, as I saw presented through Vito Corleone. And also, I have a character theory on Michael based on further reviews of the movie and watching it over and over again, because when you love something, you love it. That's what you do. But I wanted to share that with you guys. And full disclaimer, I will be making some references to the book. I have read that recently, so I did wanted to add some context to certain scenes, in particular, and we'll get to that. And then also at some point I will be breaking down all three movies, including the third, because in my opinion, I think they're all good in their own way, even the third. And as I mentioned before, for my character analysis on Michael, I think to more further those points that I'm going to make, I think it would be best to have the background of all three movies to back that up. So without further ado, of course, I'll be leaving my links available for you guys. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and quick shout out to my sponsors. Those are going to be my support system, of course, my family, of course, those that watch and subscribe and all those different things like this video at their heart's desire. So that is much appreciated. So let's get on into this. Now, of course, with my themes of fatherhood, I take it all the way back to the beginning, of course, with Mr. Corleone, and we see him, he is the main point of focus in what's going on. And this is the day of his daughter's wedding. And just, even just that there, he provides this lush, lavish event for his daughter. And again, this is a prime example of a father being a provider. Now, I'm not saying that if you can't do this, or this is just his way, because again, all different men have their, ways of making money and ways of doing their thing and levels. So again, whatever you're able to do for your children that is providing, it is all good. So I'm just saying this is just his example, because again, he got it like that. But again, he's providing this, lavish party for his daughter, very supportive of her new marriage, although he's a little bit, weird about her boyfriend Carlo Rizzi. He don't want him of course he don't want him to be involved in family business. But again, but also he shows you a different side of himself. Not only is he providing this active service for his daughter, in this world of surrogate fathers and just people trying to tell you, just say a lot of shit, I feel like the most important men are the men who actually take action and actually do those things with their children, provide and give them a proper example. Some of us may not, have the blessing of having a actual father to grow up with, and I do realize that. But I do believe the father figures out there in real life, whether it be, school, your job, again, the uncles that you might have, older men in your life, different areas of life, your coaches. There's men out there that have way more to offer in terms of their knowledge to life, and what they, how they're helping society and what they impart on people and the values. than just what you see online. And I'm going to say that much. But anyways, for Corleone, not only is he, again, showing up for his daughter in a huge way, he's also doing these favors for the community. Again, showing that extra layer of leadership to his family, more importantly to his sons, Fredo, Michael, and of course Santino. And again, these are hallmarks that makes a father really worthwhile. Leading by example. Now, I happen to have great father figures in my life, my father, my grandfather, and of course, extended family as well. My best friends' fathers, things of that nature. All lead by example, all lead families, all hardworking individuals. And this is what, again, I see reflected still in Corleone. He teaches his sons, again, how to step up for the community in different ways. Again, he's approached by Bruno Serra, who wants him to commit a murder in order to avenge his daughter. Now, again, he doesn't go ahead and commit murder, but again, he helps out his fellow man. Of course, albeit making sure they have some type of friendship first, right? Of course, he also helps out, members of his community, such as a baker. He wants to have some papers filed for him and his, mostly for his son-in-law, potential son-in-law, Enzo. He wants, citizenship for him so his daughter could get married. So it's these ties that he has to the community. Of course, he, alleges or he accepts Luca Brassi's allegiances. And of course, eventually you have Johnny Fontaine showing up and, asking for his help as well. Now, the Johnny Fontaine situation, in my opinion, is very interesting because in the book, of course, it goes a tad bit deeper on what his situation is. And of course, it is kind of mentioned in the movie. His voice is kind of shot at this point, and he's looking to get in Hollywood. Now, it would be something a little bit, deeper than that. It would require a procedure in the book, but eventually it would come back. But what's important that, again, I will bring up the novel again with is more so, what the Don saw in Johnny. And again, how you help those around you. And again, how he emphasized that Johnny should help those around him. For example, when Johnny shows up for help, it's not mentioned per se because, of course, there's that time lapse in the scene with John Wiltz, the director, who's giving him a hard time. But he actually sobers up at the compound. The Don gives him full range of recovery. And the issue here was, there was a falling out between the two. Of course, again, more book talk, but I'm not going to get too deep into that. But again, like I mentioned, they had a falling out. And Johnny, he was a little bit scared to come to the Don. But again, he needed this help. And the Don, being the forgiving man that he is and the understanding person that he is, he allows this person to, again, ask for their, request. And again, for the Don and Johnny, their relationship is a little bit deeper than that, of course. This is pretty much his son-in-law, or not son-in-law, excuse me, but, his godson. Yeah, there we go, his godson. So somebody he's always looked out for. So this is nothing to him. But he wanted to teach Johnny a few things. So while Johnny's sobering up, it's also mentioned, again, back to the book, that he's, also preaching to Johnny, when you get into Hollywood, do your best to put not only yourself back on, but your friend Nino on, that you haven't been talking to, that you've discarded as you became famous, like you fell out with your family. He brings that up. And again, as Johnny sobers up, he realizes these things. And when he goes back to Hollywood, of course, he gets that role in the Waltz movie, the movie that was, at first not given to him. It had to be forced, we all know. But he takes that role and he becomes prominent again in Hollywood. And not only that, he eventually will become a producer. But then also, he went back and made sure he helped his friends out. Even Nino, before his passing, was able to have some moment in the sun. And that's what the Don truly wanted. And, he wanted, through his influence and through his help, people being able to help others and kind of almost be on the same level in a way, Of course, his influence is there. And this is a different, again, this is examples. These are just examples. And, but he comes through for Johnny in a major way. And in turn, Johnny is able to help others. He goes back. And of course, he doesn't get back with his wife. But again, he becomes at least cordial with her to the point where he's able to have a much meaningful relationship with his family. So, and again, you have this rekindling of family. And it comes back to that because this is one of, Corleone's biggest tenets. And there's a scene that I love, particularly in the beginning, where Santino shows up in this meeting with Fontaine. And I love how they shot this scene because, okay, before this, of course, we know he had been sneaking off to hook up with that Mancini chick, right? And, he's off doing his thing. Tom calls for him, and he finally makes his way down. Of course, his kids have been running around the entire time. And as soon as Santino hits the door, the Don asks Johnny, have you been spending time with your family? He goes, yeah, I love my family, of course. And then the Don goes, good, because a man who doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man. Basically right in front of Santino's face. Thought it was one of the best scenes of just kind of telling you that he knows what's going on. And I think that's one thing about fathers and really parents in general, that they always seem to have that extra almost clairvoyant sense of what's going on and what, who's who. That's because they've been around a little bit, especially your grandparents. They just got so many years of experience that they just know who's running a game, who's really about what they saying, who's faking. They have a good idea of that. So again, when they make their statements, sometimes we go, "What? Why would you say that?" It's coming from
the family. What
tons
you
of
think, man?
experience, and that's what it comes down to. And eventually, when you live and you get yours right, and you have your kids, you'll be able to see the same type of shit. Now, wrapping up the Corleone, segment, at least fatherhood segment. And, one of the biggest things that I took away from him watching, these scenes with Marlon is just the amount of knowledge he would kick down to Michael, just throughout pretty much through the end of the movie. Particularly the biggest ones is, when he revealed the traitor, who was going to come after him, and it being Tessio. Just having those knowledges. Again, now, that's his realm, and that's what he has knowledge of. But again, your father or, whoever's close to you in your life will be able to do the same thing. Of course, parent type figure, elderly, particularly elder, you know what I'm saying? Because they got that experience. They would be able to, if they knew you, and the cool part is, that's why I'm very fascinated by this, I guess this preoccupation in these online gurus of manhood, when you can simply just talk to regular men all around you, particularly if you have dads, particularly for the guys that have dads. I think that's just ridiculous. You have so many resources right there in front of you, but you choose to just inundate yourself with these. I mean, some of them are just false, just false prophets, for profits, and it's kind of ridiculous, but again, it's just the way the society is set up now, but those individuals are no more important than anybody else you can come in contact with in your regular life. That's the key that I'm giving you here. And, I think, Don Corleone, his role shows that. He's constantly giving his son advice. Sometimes, he would be repeating the same things. It would be just so important to him to get those things out there. Mike would have to tell him, Pop, I already know. You already told me. And he's like, yeah, you're right. But that's kind of what happens at some point. And, the stress of the situation was different. And the Don himself had to navigate so many different channels just to get Michael back. Of course, we all know about him having to go to Sicily for a while. So again, just being there for your kids, showing them some type of semblance of a man, some type of consistency. Now, again, the Don is, who he is. He's not a perfect individual, but again, there's different types of fathers. That's another big point as well. Now, moving on to Michael. Now, I'm pretty sure, you guys have your different thoughts on him and how he came up. And I was watching it recently, and I just had to ask myself, and I don't get me wrong, I love the movie. I have no issues with it. I just the question came to my mind though when I'm watching the scene, with him and Tom and Clemenza, even Tessio, right? And he just comes out of nowhere with the plan, right? And of course Santino there, he's laughing. And I'm like, where the hell did this come from? And maybe 20, 30 minutes ago, you was like, I don't even want nothing to do with this. Where the hell did this come from? And I started to think. And I look back at the beginning of the movie, he's talking to Kay. This isn't me, Kay. I'm not any of this, Kay. Of course, he would be with what his family would call, his family is Sicilian. They would describe Kay as, one of those wasps. So he's projecting in a way. He's clear cut. He's college boy. No, and then also he did drop out of college, although he would go back. But he's a military guy, right? Decorated, Navy Cross. And I'm thinking, how do you go from that, just out of nowhere? I don't want nothing to do with saying, well, if you give me the gun and I implant the gun, Clemenza, I'll shoot the drug dealer Sollozzo and his crooked cop buddy McCarthy, whatever his name is. Who cares about crooked cops? Don't get me mad. Don't get mad at me, Blue Lives Matter. I said crooked, so don't get mad at me, Blue Lives Matter Club. I know how y'all gonna, but wait, he said cops. I said crooked cops. I know how y'all gonna play. Don't play me. Anyway, McCluskey. Yeah, that's right. McCluskey. Whatever. So, shooting them, he goes from, I don't want nothing to do with this, to shooting people in about 20, maybe 4 or 5 scenes, 30 minutes of film time maybe. Okay, where does this come from? And my thinking, hey, we could talk about it. Please talk about it in the comments. My thinking is that, I think he saw from afar, or he saw what was going on his entire life and thought to himself, how could I do this differently? Even more different than my pops. Not saying that I would not do it. I just want to do it differently. I think he decided to legitimize himself through him, being a military leader, military man, going to college. I think it would help. He thought it would help legitimize his name, just in case he decided, let me see if I can finagle my way in here and still project myself to look decent so I can do extra shit on the side or try to help modernize this shit on the side. Which makes sense, from his perspective. And, I will give him this. Being in the military, he was a Marine. You might be more predisposed to violence to protect your family than other people. Fight or flight. I get that, and you're trained to do that. So I would imagine if it being that time to do that, you would do that. But, okay, you made sure, though, even if I went through, the protection of the family angle, he definitely made sure he was part of the family's moves to where? Las Vegas and Cuba. I'm just saying, okay, the main thread of the family, even if you wanted to be a part of the baptism of fire, okay, I'll give you that. You take out the Don, again, of course, Vito will find out that Don Barzini was the one pulling the strings anyways through Sollozzo, okay, and Tattaglia, okay, fine. But you made sure you went to Vegas to pump more rain and then shoot him, right? I'm just, hey, you the one did the deal with Hyman Roth too, but I thought you didn't want to do that. I'm just saying, I just call it like I see it. Great character, deep character. That's what I'm saying. There's room for a lot of analysis because I think there's some dual layers here. I'm not saying no hypocrisy outright, but I'm just saying. And I love how, because in the novel it describes how his character pretty much, I don't have the term off the top of my head, but Michael, when he was in the military, he pretty much, elevated his rank, which was pretty much an honorary captain by the time he was discharged, of course, honorably with those medals. It was saying that he was promoted through battlefield action. If you look at the course of the movie, that's exactly how he got promoted through the mafia. His first mission was, protecting the Don at the hospital and then taking out Sollozzo and McCluskey in the first place. That's why he had to dip off to Sicily. Was out there for... And one thing before I let y'all go, Kay got to be the stupidest little girl I done ever seen. The motherfucker didn't want to talk to you for 3 or 4 years. He just pop up again, come on, I want to marry, and you married him. He had a whole different wife. Even in the novel, he's way more honest. He even told her in the novel, yeah, I was with somebody else, and this dumb broad go for it. K. That's why I don't feel sorry for her. I'm just gonna be honest with you. That's one broad in movies that you just don't get it. That's just dummy. All 3 movies. Anyway, y'all, I think there's more to Michael Corleone than meets the eye. The people give credence to. We're gonna dig a little bit deeper as time goes on. But if you like what you saw today, please be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think about my theory so far. I think he was hatching this the whole kind of time in the dark, but y'all tell me. All right, y'all, this is your man El Jamal. Please be sure to follow me on Instagram. I'll be leaving a link available for y'all. If anybody hasn't told you yet, I love you. Peace out, one love, and I'll holla at you later.
Don't ever take sides with anyone against the family again.